Hello everyone. So this is Satish Kumar. So hey, I'm here with my continuation lesson on leadership, and in this lesson we are going to learn about the situational leadership theories. So far we have learnt about great man theory, and then the trait theory, and third we learnt about the behavioral theories. Okay. Now we are going to see the situational leadership theory. There are some theories in this segment. Okay. So what is situational leadership theories? In the case of behavioral theories, we focused on leaders' behavior. In situational leadership theories, we will be focusing on the situation variables. Say there are two assumptions in the situational leadership theory. That is, there is not one single ideal approach to leading. There is not one single approach to leading. So when we say behavioral leadership theory, behavioral is focused on which is the best style, which is the best behavior a leader could exhibit to get the job done. Okay. So they identified different types of style, behavioral theorists, and they finally said, each theorist said this is the best effective style, most effective style. Okay. For example, Likert will say democratic leadership is the best method, and all organizations should train their leaders to become a democratic leader, right? So that is the approach of behavioral leadership theory. But what the situational leadership theory says is, there is not one single ideal approach to leading, because situations or circumstances vary. Okay. So the second assumption of situational leadership theory is, effective leaders must change their behavior according to the situation. So a leader cannot be always exhibiting the same style. For example, take a case of a people-centered leadership style. Okay, if I am going to exhibit people-centered leadership style always, right? I am exhibiting always people-centered leadership, no matter who my followers are. What will happen is, some followers may take my concern for them, my people-centeredness, for granted, and they may not complete the task and like that. Okay. So if the people are not willing to work on such situations, I have to be more tough. I may even have to be an autocratic. Only then I can get the job done. Okay, this is very important. See, I have given this example previously also. See, when I am handling classes, if I am handling a highly cultured and educated people, I added the word cultured. Not all educated people are cultured. That is why I added the word cultured. If there are highly cultured and educated people come and sit to my class, they are willing to learn there. They came with open mind. So they will learn from me what I am going to say. In such a case, I will be more focused on them, and I will be very free, open, and I will be very participative, and all the things I will be to those students. But for certain students who come to class just to mock or make fun out of it, or not taking the class seriously, okay, they may even laugh, they may even speak in the phone, they may do certain things like that. All these things, which are not the right way to behave in a class. Okay, to such a students, I cannot show concern, I cannot be participative and like that. Okay, to them, for some reasons I have to be more uh, authoritative. For example, I have to be more controlling them, more firm with them. I have to raise the voice. I cannot show them concern like I do with the other group. So, when the situation changes, I have to adapt a different style. That is what situational leadership theories is all about. Okay. So, these two approaches, that is two assumptions, that is there is not one single ideal approach to leading, and effective leaders must change their behavior according to the situations. Okay. So, there are number of theories of situational leadership theories. Okay. Some of the theories we are going to see in this class. In today's class we will see one theory, I think. In my next class we will see the remaining theories. Okay. What are all the theories? First is we can even add we learnt in my behavioral theory is Kurt-Lewin's 3 styles model, right? It is as a behavioral theory. It could be used as a behavioral theory, but it is also a situational theory, because the styles, based on the identifying the styles of the different all the 3 leaders, no, we could fit which leadership style will be suit to which situations. Okay. So, Kurt-Lewin's leadership style could also be considered as a situational leadership theory. That is why Kurt-Lewin's 3 styles model was part of both behavioral theories and situational leadership theory. I was actually confused because I read in one book it was in the behavioral theories, and in other book it was in the situational theories. So, I got confused. So, I found what it is. So, this is the reason. Okay. Then we have Tannenberg and Schmidt's leadership behavior continuum, similar to Kurt-Lewin's continuum. Tannenberg and Schmidt leadership behavior continuum model, but it is different. Okay. We will see what it is. Then we have Fiedler contingency model, a very famous theory. Fiedler's contingency model, one of the most famous of the leadership theories. Okay. Then we have path goal theory, but by Robert House. Okay. Then we have Hershey and Blanchard's situational leadership model. Okay, another very famous theory. In fact, in Indian conditions, Hershey and Blanchard's situational leadership model is highly used. Okay. Then we also have Bolman and Deal's 4-frame model, which is not a very popular model, but it is also a situational leadership theory. Then we also have Reddin's 3D leadership model. The last two leaderships are not that popular, but Reddin's 3D leadership model, no, has some very different approach. Although it is using all the basic ingredients of the previous leadership theory, but he approached it in a different manner and he came up with some different ideas. So, I find that theory very interesting because it explains a lot of things. Okay. So, we will see all these theories in detail. First, I will start up with, since we have seen about Kurt-Lewin's 3-style model, we do not need to see that. We will start up with the Fiedler's contingency model. Okay. Fiedler, because it is one of the most notable situational leadership theory. Okay. It was first introduced in 1967 by Fred Fiedler. He wrote a book called A Theory of Leadership Effectiveness. Okay. And he says that a leader's effectiveness, no, it depends upon two forces. Okay. One, the leadership style, the leader's style, and other the situational favorableness. Situational favorableness. These two forces are very important. First is the leadership style, the leader's leadership style, and the situational favorableness. Fiedler called the combination of leadership style and situational favorableness situational contingency. Okay, that is why it is called the Fiedler's contingency model. Okay. Fiedler, to explain this theory, he took the most the the two famous behavioral styles, that is task oriented leader and relationship oriented leader, or we can say employee centered leader or initiating structure, like that. They have given different names known in the behavioral theories. So, the major thing is one leader is task centered leader, other leader is a relationship centered leader, relationship oriented leader. So, he took these two characteristics, styles of leadership. Okay. And what Field has said is, in these two styles, neither style is inherently superior. We cannot say autocratic is the best, or we cannot say democratic style is the best style, or we cannot say that a leader who is task centered is the best, or a leader who is people centered is the best. We cannot say like that. Okay. Neither styles are either inferior or superior to one another. Okay. However, what he said was, certain leadership style will suit certain situations better. Okay. Certain leadership situations may require one particular type of leadership. Okay. It is the situation require different types of leader. A autocratic leader may perform well at a, may be very effective at a particular situation. Similarly, a people-centered leader will be effective at a particular situation. That is the idea behind Fiedler's contingency model. So, we saw what were the two forces of Fiedler, that is, one is leadership style and other is situational favorableness. So, Fiedler took the leadership style, the two basic leadership style, that is task oriented and relationship oriented. And he also gives a definition about favorableness of the situation. Okay. The favorableness of the situation is, he gave three factors. Okay. Three factors will determine the favorableness of a situation. The first factor is how much trust, respect, confidence exists between a leader and follower. How much trust, respect and confidence. For example, a leader and a follower, what is the trust and respect they have for each other? Okay, the confidence, whether the followers are confident about the leader, whether the followers are showing respect to the leader, whether the followers are trusting the leader. Okay, how much trust they have, whether high or low. That is one reason will determine the favorableness. Okay. The second is how precisely the task is defined in that organization and how much creative freedom that the leader gives to the followers. Okay. How precisely the task is designed and how much creative freedom the leader gives. See, for some organization, task may be very well defined. Okay. In such situations, very little creativity is allowed. For some organizations, the basic structure is created, but there are many creativity can be involved. Okay. In such situations, creative freedoms are given to the followers. Okay. So, there may be different types of situations. The third factor is how much the followers accept the leader's power. Okay. The leader's position, the leader's power to control them. Okay. People, when somebody is leading them or somebody is above them, no, the power that the person in the upper person who is above them, no, that has to be accepted by the people who are subordinates or followers of him. How much the followers accept that leadership power, that is also one factor will determine the favorableness. Okay. So, these three factors will determine. So, what Field has said was, the situation will be favorable for a leadership, for a leader is when there is a high mutual trust okay, high mutual trust, when there is high respect between employee and subordinates, when there is a high confidence between leader and followers, that is natural. When they both trust each other, there will be, the situation will be highly favorable, okay. And the task is clear and controllable, okay, when the task is clear. So task should be very clear, okay, when the structure is very clear and controllable. And the third is the followers accept the leader's power. The followers willingly accept what the leader says, okay. In such a situation, we could say that the leader's situation is favorable, okay. The situation will be unfavorable when all these things are opposite, when there is no trust between leader and employee, when there is no respect between leader and subordinates, when there is no confidence between them, when the task is not clear, and leader has to cannot easily control his subordinates, when the followers do not accept the leadership position, do not give the kind of respect that the leaders require, okay. In such a situation, it could be said the situation is highly unfavorable, okay. So these three characteristics will determine what is favorable, and these three features, that is, when there is high mutual trust, when the task is clear, and when the followers accept the leader's power, the situation is highly favorable. When there is no trust, when the tasks are not very well defined, and when the followers do not accept the leader's power, it is said the situation is highly unfavorable, okay. So after giving all this time, Fiedler talks about leadership effectiveness. He says that the task oriented leaders, okay, the task oriented leaders will be most effective when facing a situation that is either very favorable or very unfavorable. For both these situations, a task oriented leader will be highly suitable or highly effective. See, we see in the previous situation, when there is high trust between employee and subordinates, when there is a task is very clear, when the followers accept the leader's power, even in such situation, the task oriented leader will be highly effective. Same case, when there is no trust, when there is no clear direction, when the followers do not accept the leader's power, even such time the task oriented leader will be highly successful. So in both these cases, when the situation is extremely favorable and when the situation is highly unfavorable, in both these situations a task oriented leader will be successful, okay. But when the situation is mediocre, okay, when trust and respect, all these things are in the average, that is, there is respect between leader and subordinate, but it is not 100%, but there are also doubts. There is trust between them, but the trust is not entirety, okay. The task is also not very well clear defined. Tasks are a little unstructured, okay. Also the followers do not entirely accept the leader's power. They are not highly against it, but they do not entirely accept, okay. There may be such situations also, mediocre level situation. So in such situations, okay, people oriented leader will be highly effective, okay. This is the final conclusion of Fiedler. He says that when the situation favorable is high and when the situation favorable is very low, in both this time task oriented leader will be, the autocratic leader will be more successful. When the situation favorable is intermediate, okay, in such situations the relationship oriented leader will be successful. And this idea is very, if you think about it, no, you will find it very logic. The logic is very clear, because In a situation where there is intermediate level of favorableness, to build that extra level of favorableness, you need a relationship oriented manager or a leader. Okay. Similarly, in the other case, when there is a low favorableness, no, we need a task oriented leader who can get the trust of the when there is no trust, no, in such a situation a task oriented leader will push the worker by his actions, by taking bold steps. He will also when there is no trust, when they don't accept the power, no, a task oriented leader will be highly successful, effective. When there is also a favorableness, he will be successful because everything is working. He will focus 100% on his task. He don't need to exert people-centeredness in such situations. Okay, so a people-centered leader is required when there is not enough favorableness situation. That is intermediate favorableness. Okay. Fiedler also talks about an individual's personality. Okay, see, situations require different types of leaders. Okay, that is the conclusion. But Fiedler says an individual's personality is fixed. If I am exhibiting a democratic leadership style, I am a democratic leadership style person. I cannot change myself to the task oriented as a task oriented leader all of a sudden, because my personality is fixed according to Fiedler. So I cannot change myself. That is what Fiedler says. So what he suggests is we have to find the situation, what is the the favorableness of the situation, and then we have to put the right type of leader. If in an organization there is low favorableness and there is a relationship oriented leader is there, hence it will be highly not effective situation. The productivity will not be effective in that organization. It won't work. So we have to remove the production oriented, people oriented leader, and we have to bring a task oriented leader in such situations. That is what Fiedler says, because he says an individual's behavioral style is fixed. It will be entire for his life career. Okay, so we have to match leaders to situation. This is one difference between Fiedler and other situational leadership theory. So Fiedler views a personality as fixed. In certain situations, I too agree with this concept, but we can also say that I can change myself from being a democratic leader to a tough autocratic leader. Okay, if the situation demands. But again, this last part of Fiedler is a little bit confusing one. We cannot validate it. We can argue on both sides. See, all these theories are subjective. That is why there are so many theories. Of course, you have to analyze the situation, and you have to if you want to become a leader, an effective leader, to get a job done, no, you have to put yourself in that situation, and you have to think all these things and finally take the correct decisions. How to act, whether to act as a task oriented leader or a relationship oriented leader. So that is why there are different leadership theories. Okay, so this aspect of Fiedler's view of, that is, personality is fixed, no, it has to be validated, because even in psychology itself, not all psychologists will accept the view that an individual's personality is fixed. In fact, these days a lot of psychologists claim that an individual undergo change throughout his entire life. Only early theorists like Freud and others, no, they say that individual's personality is fixed at around 10, like that, at the children level. But these days lot of psychologists say that an individual's personality is continue to change. Okay, so this is one theory, this one aspect of Fiedler's theory is to be validated. Okay, but otherwise it is a very important theory. It is a useful guide for helping people to become a better leaders. Okay, to match the situations. Okay, we all know that there are situations when a company is going through some tough times when the company needs some tough decisions to be taken. We have heard in a lot of companies bringing tough managers, task oriented managers. When a situation is highly crisis moment an organization is going through, when the organization is going for some major restructuring like layoff or turnover, takeover, or joint venture like that. No, in such situations, organizations have a leader who is highly task oriented, because in such situations those leaders might be very successful. So these are all explains Fiedler's theory. Okay, so we could say that Fiedler's theory has some high merits despite its limitations. Okay. We can definitely say that there is no single ideal way of behavior by a leader. No leader can exhibit always one particular style. He has to change according to the situation. So, despite its limitations, Fiedler's theory was an important contribution, especially in reinforcing the generally accepted view that I am saying now, all these accepted views. And we have seen examples of that also in a lot of situations. When a tough situation need, a tough person will come. When a country is going through tough times, the country will elect in that election a leader with a tough mental set. Okay, there are plenty of examples throughout history. Sometimes that same leader will turn highly autocratic. We have seen when Germany was going through crisis time, they choose Hitler as their leader, and after the crisis is over and the country started to prospering, he should have toned down that style, but he still went far and he created great havoc. Okay, so when the situation change, the leader also have to change. That is the idea behind situational theories. Okay, again, with this I end this lesson. We will see the next situational theory in my next lesson, another very important theory. Okay, bye.